solve a quadratic equation using the complete square form. By completing the square, there's some strategy you might think that helpful to when you process this format. If the coefficient of x squared is not a 1, make it 10 to the 1 by dividing both sides of the equation by the coefficient x squared. In other words, you want to get the leading coefficient 10 to the 1. If necessary, you add a number to both sides of the equation to get the constant on the right side of the equation. We look at the example. Okay, let's do this one. Using the completing the square to solve this equation. So when I have this equation, the first step, I will look at the equation and see whether we can do the factoring or not. So if I bring the 6 to the left-hand side, rewrite the equation, I will have the x squared plus 4x minus 6 equals 0. So when I discover the equation, try to use the factor form to solve for the equation, I realize there's no way I can factor out. So the factor form won't be work. Okay? So I'm going to use another strategy to solve for it. We call completing the square form. So the idea is we keep the x squared term and the x term on the left hand side. And we keep the coefficient number on the right hand side by itself. Now we are going to create a third term. And this third term was not from the equation. Alright, this is the one we made. So since it's an equation, when I add something to the left hand side, I need to do the same to the right hand side. Now how can we determine the third term? What is the number we are going to put into it? We need to look at the middle term. So the b, we use the b over 2 square to add on into the third term. Now b is 4. So I have 4 divided by 2, do the square. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we are going to add 2 power 2 into the third term. So this would be the 2 to the power 2. And it's a plus. So I'm going to add 2 to the power 2 to the right hand side. Now, the left hand side 3 term, we can combine this 3 term into x plus 2 everything squared is equal, combine these 2 on the right, it's 10. So once you have the 3 term ready, we just take the base of the first term, combine with the base on the third term. And this number could be positive, could be negative, depends on the middle term number you have. So by the end, we rewrite this 3 term into the x plus 2, everything squared equal 10. And then from here, we take the square root sign on both sides. So we will have the x plus 2 equal positive negative root 10. And then you bring the 2 to the right hand side, you turn to the negative 2 plus minus root 10. And that would be the true solution of this equation. Okay, let me do one more example. Let me show you another example here. When we have the equation, for example, we have the x squared minus 3x plus 2 equal plus 3 equals 0. So apparently this one we cannot factor out, right? So we are going to use complete a square to solve for the equation. So the first step, we bring the 3 to the right hand side, so it will turn to the negative 3. When this 3 go right, it turns to negative 3. Now we are going to create a third term. Let me put a plus here. Okay, I always put a plus sign here. Now this third term is coming from the middle term we have here. So the middle term we have is -3. So b divided by 2, right? The third term we always put a b. Put it here, b over 2 everything squared. So since the b is -3, divided by 2 everything squared. So we have -3 over 2 everything squared. Do the same thing to the right, -3 over 2 to the square. Now we combine the base of the first term and the base of the third term. So to getting the factor form. So the factor form on your left hand side is x minus, right? This is a minus. So -3 over 2 everything squared is equal -3 plus -3 over 2 to the square. It will turn to a positive number. So you will have 9 over 4. -3 plus 9 over 4, you will have the 4 and the -3 on the top. So x minus 3 over 2 everything squared. Now I take the square root on both sides. Let me put up here. I don't have space here. So when I take the square root on both sides, it turns to the x minus 3 over 2 is equal plus minus root 3 over 4 I bring the negative sign to the outside, change to the I. This is 3. And then we bring the -3 over 2 to the right, it turns to the 3 over 2 plus minus root 3 over 4 is equivalent root 3 over 2 I. So when you have the equation like this, solving the x term, finding the x by using the completed square, sometimes you need to deal with a fraction, and you need to deal with the square root number. But those terms, you should have that foundation from your beginning algebra or intermediate algebra. And so if you're still not familiar with this part, you might need to take time to practice. So this would be the completed square form by solving the quadratic equation.